Chefs, what red flags do you look for when you go out to eat? Anthony Bourdain said dirty menus. If they are not cleaning the menu, they are not cleaning other things. Chinese restaurant doesn't have Chinese people working in it. I worked as a server and occasional line cook for several years. Number 1 red flag is the spouts on the soda fountain. Those things are one of the easiest things to clean in the entire place. So if they are mildewy, that kills my interest in eating there. I'm fine with a bit of mess elsewhere, especially in a high volume place, since it will get messy over the course of a day. But those spouts take multiple days of no washing to get to a point where they are noticeably disgusting. I went to brunch recently, and the head chef/owner walked in the front door with an axe, walked through the dining area, and into the kitchen where he proceeded to axe the walk-in cooler to shreds. Not a chef, but I think that's a red flag. Hi, actually a chef here. 1. Divorce your mind from the bathroom as dirty idea. Bathrooms are not always the responsibility of the kitchen, and don't necessarily reflect the state of the kitchen. Also, bathrooms see a lot of use, so it being untidy, not covered in crap, but paper on the floor, etc. isn't uncommon, especially at peak hours. A clean bathroom is a sign of good management. Same idea applies to menus. To check the glassware and silverware, and plates. If they are spotty, there are 2 reasons. They are not polished, or the system they are using isn't being maintained. This is a good sign of very few fricks being given in both the front and back of house. 3. If you have the opportunity to see the entrance to kitchen from the outside, that should give you a clue about whether or not the kitchen staff is trained to take care of the premises. If there is a stack of empty boxes, bags of trash, litter, then they don't care. Pests and rodents eat anything. If you leave it out, they learn where to be. Then they find how to get in. For a little harder. But the trained eye and experienced eater can learn a lot by what is in the menu. Some places use whatever processed product their mainliner sells them. Cisco, US Foods, Aramark, etc. They might be clean and well run, but still crappy. I suggest looking for the local places over the chains, though this doesn't always help. 5. Server attire. Generally speaking, a well-dressed staff means good service. It might not say anything about the food, but appearances count. 6. Are they busy? If they're in the main part of town and not busy, that should tell you a lot. Overall, if your first experience doesn't leave you satisfied, not wow amazing, but good, then don't go back. I went to Wendy's and saw hella ads on the soda machine, and when I mentioned it, they said, "Oh, we know." Not a chef, but my thing is size of the menu. This isn't always true, but oftentimes I think the smaller the menu, the better the food. If the place has an enormous menu, I always assume they're lacking on quality. Huge menus. Very few restaurants can do many things great, and I don't want to go somewhere that does a lot of okay meals. If Gordon Ramsay is there. I worked in a restaurant for 7 years, and there's pretty much nothing, within reason, that would prevent me from eating at a restaurant. Not personally a chef, but I have heard from chef friends that if the bathroom is disgusting, the kitchen won't be any better. In nicer restaurants, servers who don't know the menu. A server should be able to describe any dish on the menu in basic terms. If they can't, there's some fundamental communication problems among the staff. Personally, I'm very cautious of any buffet at all. Whenever I've had to replenish food out at the buffet, the customers just frick everything up with the utensils, and sometimes the utensils for dishing the food is clean. So that means they are using their own forks or spoons that they've had in their mouths. Then you have the little craphead kids that the parents aren't paying attention to, that are just grabbing food with their bare hands, or spilling into other foods. Old people, like 80-year-olds that frequent the buffets, are gross enough when they are constantly coughing and clearing their throats and spitting while talking in the lineup. Smacking their lips and crap makes me squirm. Judge me for being judgy, but I've seen it firsthand at nearly every buffet I've worked. But I won't go near one that isn't manned by a cook or server at the stations. If I see customers in sweat pants and a t-shirt at a buffet, I order from the menu. Ask the staff what do they recommend. If either they haven't eaten anything on the menu or they don't know what to say, it's a red flag. There is a reason why they don't eat the food there. Son of a chef. Oven chips. Besides the fact oven chips are crap, if they can't be asked to hand cut potatoes, I don't put much faith into the rest of the meal. Anything that looks like a general piece of frozen food. Think chicken Kieves. Always look the same. Shape, size, etc. If anything comes out steaming hot, that shouldn't be hot. For example, jacket potato. If that comes out and it's erupting with enough steam that the glassware gets condensation, then it's been zapped in the microwave. Melted cheese which hasn't got brown or burn marks on it, except on a burger, it's been microwaved instead of a flame. To you guys saying that the bathroom being disgusting is a sign of gross staff, please go work at a restaurant for a week. Unless you're talking about non-busy hours, the bathroom is going to get super gross in a matter of minutes. I could not keep up with the public's disgusting bathroom habits and still do the rest of my job, and I'm a picky but fast cleaner. It was much easier to keep the kitchen and tables clean than the bathroom. For some reason, people think it's okay to stop being a decent human being in public bathrooms. Not a chef but bartender here. When I sit down at a bar, I watch how the bartenders pour from their taps. If they stick the tap into the drink while they're pouring, I stick with a bottled drink. I was taught very early on not to do that, and having worked at a lot of places where I've seen the smegma of built up moldy drink residue, dead fruit flies, that comes out of those things when they are cleaned. Usually after many months or years has passed in some cases, I'll always pass on tap drink. If I see that crap, it's often undercleaned, uncovered, unwiped part of the bar, and most people on the other side of the bar ever think twice. It's also a sign that other things like their soda gun and ice well potentially being cleaned and sanitized properly, not to mention their eggs aren't being swapped out and sanitized. The list goes on. I don't bish at the bartender. I don't make a scene. I just order a bottle because that isn't being handled by that establishment other than when they open it. Also, don't get me started on staff snacking out of the garnish tray. Ugh. The smell of the restaurant when I walk in. It should smell good and not of sewer. Service can tell things on the restaurant. If you enter the restaurant and servers don't pay attention to you, it can mean two things. They are too busy, or they are not motivated to work. If they are too busy, it means owner doesn't want to hire more people, which means the owner wants to save money or does not pay attention to his place. If he wants to save money by not hiring enough, he will do so in kitchen. If they are not motivated to work, there are problems among staffs or they are not getting paid enough. Old Russian restaurants usually have quite big red flags. We'll leave now. I'm not very bothered with smells etc. Within reason obviously. A Chinese restaurant cooking traditional food will smell different to a Mexican place etc. Red flags for me. If there is a weekly/daily special board. Mondays are whole off burger day. Tuesday it's 2 steaks for 1 day etc. If the place has a dedicated birthday song/dance, they force the staff to perform a run. A lot of people who aren't chefs. There's not a lot that'll put me off DBH. Basically only if there's nothing on the menu I'm willing to try. I don't eat fish, but I'm willing to give anywhere a chance. Dirty toilets aren't always the responsibility of the staff. Someone could have come in and ruined them just before you go in there, and the place is so busy that the servers/runners haven't had a chance to clean, and it's usually before/after service they're cleaned. Salt and pepper mills. Any place I go to I'm hoping I'm not gonna need them. The food should be seasoned correctly to the chef's tastes, so that extra salt is not needed. In general, if the staff are rude I'll probably give it a pass, but apart from that I'll give anywhere a go. It's a good way to get inspiration for new stuff too, and what not to do sometimes. Honestly, everyone should just pick up a copy of Kitchen Confidential by Anthony Bourdain. Seriously one of the best reads I've ever had. Rest his soul. 1. When the menu has a large variety of options, but they are not closely related to each other, or even the theme of the restaurant. 2. Empty parking lots at peak times and an empty room. 3. When front of the house or servers don't know their menu. 4. When it takes 10 minutes just to get water. 5. Flies, not gnats, I'm talking about house flies. 6. Dirty menus, cups, and plates. I just assume they are all gross and drink to forget about it. I always look at how many pieces of flair the serving staff is wearing. I see 15 pieces as a bare minimum, so anything less than that is definitely a red flag. Anything more than that is cheeky fine. A lot of people pointing out that a lot of people in this thread are not chefs. Sarcasm aside, I don't have a culinary degree, but I did spend 10 years of my life in professional kitchens. Show up early and grab a drink at the bar. If the bar smells like dirty mop water, GTFO. If the bartender has to ask you what goes in an old fashioned, GTFO. If the bartender is a rude prick, GTFO. If the front of house is bad, the back will be even worse. I consider the maitre d' as simply the guy who greets me, not necessarily how I judge front of house. You can only tell so much from polished silverware. That's not hard to do, and almost every place stays on top of it. Doing things like making sure there isn't any dust on the bottles behind a bar, even the ones that hardly ever get used and need a ladder to reach. That takes real dedication and attention to detail. Other sure signs of trouble at the bar is last night's garnish. If your lime doesn't look and feel like it was cut in the last hour, GTFO. Conversely, if they use the good Luxardo cherries instead of the day glow red abominations, you're probably at a place that gives a crap about ingredients in the kitchen as well. Not quite an answer to the question. But, if the kitchen closes at 10 PM, don't order food at 9:55. The chef is going to hate you because you're now the reason they have to stay in work longer. They're either going to rush your order and make it bad or actively hate you and spit in it or something. Most chefs are assholes and super highly strung and or cokeheads. Source, waiter 4 years. When you see the kitchen nightmares van parking outside, the chef should never leave the kitchen in his hat or apron. It should be reflex habit to remove and put them on at the door, along with washing hands. If they do not, then it'd say they are likely to be super unclean. Mice droppings, roaches moving, and yes, dirty restrooms. At Italian restaurants, I look at the olive oil that's given on the table. If it's a light colored oil, then it's not that great in quality and they're cutting corners. It makes me wonder what other corners they're cutting. All of the top answers say they are not a chef, but lol. Okay, well, I'm a chef and the answer is I rarely go out to eat. The last thing you want to do after working all day is go to another restaurant. Frankly, going out is almost always a letdown. It is hard to enjoy a meal when you know you could have made it better yourself for a quarter of the cost. Former cook here, I can't bring myself to describe my previous job as a chef as I merely warmed up food. I always watch out for stressed out staff. If the staff are overworked and not coping in the customer facing side of the business, then things could very well be much worse behind the scenes. People will cut corners and will do anything to get rid of backed up meals and tickets. Cleaning and hygiene can go out the window in stressful situation. You tell your waiter there's a fly in your soup, and he adds it to your bill. How are they cleaning tables? Is there any sanitizing solution being used? Or are they just pushing the crumbs off? Culinary student here, could beef anything? If you can afford it, chances are it's not the real thing. Real Kobe beef was only very recently approved for sale outside of Japan, on an extremely limited basis, and it's several $100s per pound. So if you see Kobe beef sliders for $6.99, or an 8 ounces Kobe filet mignon for $80, that means whatever place you're in eating in thinks you're a dim-witted sucker, which means they are probably inflating a lot of the other food on the menu, too. Saying Wagyu is a little better, and it's more common now that it was a few years ago, but American Wagyu is still mostly Oyster Prime that was finished on a little drink. If I walk into a Mexican restaurant in Texas, and I'm the only Mexican, I know I can just walk the frick out and not miss out on anything. My former LPO. True for most ethnic foods. If you live in an area with a large population of X and you only see white people going to that restaurant, that should tell you something about the food. Not a chef, but former health inspector here. The first thing I notice is smell. Everything has a unique odor, and after doing it long enough, you can pick it out pretty quickly. Drains that aren't cleaned have a smell. Standing water has a smell. Mice and rats have a smell. Cockroaches have a smell. Within 5 foot of the entrance, I know what kind of sanitation a restaurant has. After that, I look for personal items. If there are personal items strewn about the bar, wait stations, pass-through window, kitchen, etc., I'll leave. Purses, drinks and food from outside are nasty. People do some weird crap at home. I don't want that stuff all over my restaurant. I was in 3 restaurants across the US every day for over 3 years. I've seen some crap, but you never forget the smells. Waiter, not chef, but I agree with a lot I've read here. General cleanliness. If they can't keep the small things clean, they're cutting corners everywhere with hygiene. A good restaurant keeps on top of that stuff. Maintenance, again relating to cutting corners. If items aren't maintained, condiments and the like, then you can be sure that there are lapses elsewhere. Staff. This is an interesting one, but from experience, if the staff don't seem to work well together or not, there's a red flag that the restaurant isn't being looked after properly, leading to issues with the first 2. There's probably a bunch of other stuff I've missed. Truth be told, restaurant biz is usually high pressure, so everything, like cleaning, is done as quickly as possible. Often, that translates to poor quality. I usually go out with a skeptical eye because of what I've seen/heard. Some of it can be right dodgy. Not a chef, but here's a sap. Most restaurants get their fresh fish on Tuesdays. Don't get the Sunday/Monday fish special. I only really skimmed, but nobody really answered the question. Sushi. Any kind of sushi burrito. Always fresh, never frozen. Nope. Sushi grade fish has to be flash frozen, because almost everything has parasites. If they are actually serving fresh caught fish, they are dumb about food safety. Lion King roll, Shrek roll, any kind of bombs, really big pieces of fish on nigiri. Sushi for college kids, and whoever is cutting the fish doesn't know what they are doing. Hearing water continually running behind the sushi counter, that means they are improperly thawing something that doesn't get ordered much, and whatever they are thawing will have most of the flavor washed away. Meat, Kobe beef burgers, they are lying, flat out, lying, to the point where it's disrespectful because they think they can get away with it, and they usually do. Grilled to perfection. You are at a chain restaurant. Perfect grill marks that only go in one direction. This piece of meat has never even been in the same room as a grill. Red flags in general. Almost all Pan-Asian inspired cuisine. A paragraph at the bottom of the menu describing their philosophy on food sustainability, or saying, now this is a double-edged sword. There is house-made anything on the menu. Cocktail menus that describe in too much detail using words that people other than bartenders don't really understand. Gom shrub alia saccharine. This just means look at me, I know how to make duck fat washed bourbon. I'm just gonna tell you this much. I worked at a Golden Corral for 2.5 years, and the cleanliness of the bathroom has no bearing on the cleanliness of the kitchen. Because when people hit that bathroom door, it's like some of them turn feral and forget how to act. I can't tell you the number of times I had to go clean the bathroom during busy times because some nasty motherfucker crap on the floor or mad all over the place because they think that thing between their legs is a sniper rifle. One time, I had to clean up crap from behind the toilet. Physically right behind the bowl, that couldn't get there without someone throwing it there. Don't blame the kitchen staff because you're in the bathroom after some nasty motherfucker. If a BBQ joint don't have a couple health code violations, are they really trying to put out good food? 1. Servers aggressively pushing certain drinks or items. 2. Multi-page menus with every freaking cuisine imaginable. 3. The floor. Is the floor clean, or is it disgusting? I won't eat somewhere that has dirty floors and isn't like a street eats kind of place.